boys and girls, welcome back. It's Thursday and I'm going to continue reading Election Blues, starting on chapter 6. The title of chapter 6 is Where's TJ? The next morning, TJ was not in school. I stared at his empty seat and wondered what had happened when he went home last night. Was his dad still angry? Was he mad that we gave him a ride home? Did he get in even more trouble? I couldn't help but feel that something was wrong, and when I got home from school that day, I decided to tell Dad about it. Dad was in the garage changing the oil in his car. "Hey kid, what's up? How was school today?" he asked, wiping his nose and leaving a smudge of grease on his cheek. "Okay," I mumbled, pulling my backpack strap up on my shoulder. Dad stopped and looked up. "Well, it doesn't sound okay. What's up, buddy? Is something bothering you?" "Well, kind of," I mumbled, looking down at my shoes. "It's TJ. He wasn't in school today, and I just keep thinking that maybe something is wrong." Dad put his wrench down on his tool bench and walked over to sit on a stool beside me, wiping his hands on an old towel. "Oh yeah? Why is that?" he asked, looking concerned. "Well, you know how TJ's dad was acting weird yesterday?" Dad nodded. "Yeah? Well, there's more," I whispered. "You know how TJ had a black eye? Well, it happened because his dad fell on him." Dad looked confused. "He fell on him? What do you mean, Alex?" I shook my head. "I don't know. He said that his dad fell and knocked him down the steps, but I just think there's more to that story. I think it happened because his dad was drunk, and TJ's been acting different lately. It seems like he's always taking care of himself. He's always late for school. He never has a coat. I don't even think that he eats supper at home anymore. I just think things have gotten pretty bad at his house. And when I asked TJ about his eye, he got really mad." I paused for a minute. "And he'd be furious if he knew that I was telling you all of this," I said, looking my dad in the eye. "But I think he needs help." Dad nodded slowly. "I think you might be right, son, and you did the right thing letting me know about it." I really hoped that he was right. I headed back into my house, still worrying about TJ and hoping that I wouldn't make things worse. I remembered last year when I told our substitute teacher, Mrs. Witherspoon, about how TJ had trouble reading. I thought that I was helping him, but it ended up making things worse, at least for a while. And I had promised that I would mind my own business. Now I couldn't help but wonder if I would be causing more trouble for him again. But deep down, I knew that he needed help. And since I was his friend, it was my job to help him, whether he liked it or not. When I walked into the kitchen, Mom was sitting at the table wearing her padded headphones and arranging her microphone. "Oh boy, here we go again," I thought to myself. Mom looked up with a huge grin on her face. "Guess what, Alex?" she said, beaming. "You're never going to believe this." "What's up, Mom?" I asked, wondering what she was up to now. "Well, remember the awful podcast that I recorded the other day and how I hoped that no one was listening?" Yeah," I said, wondering how that could be a good thing. "Well, it turns out that I was wrong. There were people listening. A lot of people." Sorry, Mom," I said, still wondering why she seemed happy that so many people heard her crazy podcast. I hope that no one I knew was tuned in to hear my dysfunctional family in action. "No, you don't understand, Alex," she said, grinning. "They loved it. They thought that we were hysterical. One critic wrote a newspaper column about it. She said it was one of the funniest new podcasts released, and she can't wait to hear more. I gulped. A newspaper wrote about her podcast? So much for flying under the radar and staying anonymous. Oh, that's good, I guess, I said. I had a feeling that we were getting roped into much more than we had bargained for. She continued. In fact, the newspaper listed the dates and times of our show so that more listeners can tune in. Sorry, I lost my spot. And here's the best part. She paused for a moment to let the news sink in. The local radio show that aired the first podcast decided to pick up the show as a weekly feature. We'll be airing live every Tuesday and Friday. A radio show? Oh boy, it just kept getting worse. Mom gushed. They just love how our family interacts, and they can't wait to hear more from us. All of us, she said, raising an eyebrow and nodding toward me. I sighed. Yep, definitely getting way worse than I bargained for. So you mean you actually want Dylan and Copper in the room with you for your next podcast? I don't want to keep them on lockdown in the living room, I asked. Mom smiled proudly. No, it's just the opposite. They want to hear from each of you. They want to know more about our family and, of course, about the latest hairstyles, too. After all, the podcast is called, do you remember? Here We Go. I shrugged. Okay, Mom, if you say so. I already had enough to worry about without getting involved in Mom's crazy podcast. I figured it was best to leave the kitchen before she began recording. I stood up and started walking toward the door, but Mom looked confused. Where are you going? She asked. Don't you want to be here for the show? I shook my head. No offense, Mom, but I'm going to hide out while you're taping your podcast, okay? Mom's face fell. Okay, but don't forget to come back before the show is over so that you can say hello. I shrugged. Sure, Mom. There's nothing I'd like more, I said, rolling my eyes. I chilled out in my room for about a half an hour, and when I came back to the kitchen, Dylan was sitting at the table beside Mom. She was looking at a picture of a lady in a magazine with a weird hairdo. Mom leaned over the microphone and spoke in her official, we're on the air voice. The layered bob is making a huge comeback this year, she said. Dylan grabbed the microphone and shouted, It looks like the lady in the picture is wearing a wig. I panicked for a moment, thinking he just messed up her show. But Mom laughed. It sounded like my son is a big fan of this haircut. Copper barked in agreement. Then he jumped up to try to grab the magazine. Dylan shouted in the microphone, No, Copper, no eating the pictures. Mom laughed again. I'm glad I have my assistant Dylan here to help us out today. And before we go, let's talk a little bit about highlights. They are big this season. And don't be afraid to try something bold, like purple streaks, she added, looking at a picture of a lady with purple highlights. Just like Brady, Dylan said, giggling. Yes, Dylan, just like your purple dinosaur friend, Mom agreed. I couldn't believe she was staying so calm when Dylan kept interrupting her podcast. She even seemed to be encouraging his comments, almost like he was the star of her show. I have to admit that made me a little bit mad. Not that I wanted to be in her dumb podcast, but come on, really? Letting a 3-year-old run a podcast just didn't seem like a bright idea. Mom smiled and spoke calmly into the microphone. I'm sure you'll all be happy to know that Dylan's toy dinosaur Brady survived our last podcast when he was kidnapped by our dog, Copper. In fact, thanks to some quick thinking from my son Alex, Brady was taken to Dr. Baker's office where he received some stitches and made a complete recovery. She winked at me. "And here's Dr. Baker now," she said, holding the microphone in front of me. I froze, my cheeks turning red. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I didn't know what I was supposed to say. "Hi, Dr. Baker," Dylan shouted. "Thank you for fixing Brady." Sure," I whispered into the microphone. Mom smiled and said, "That's my son Alex. He's a huge help to me. I don't know what I'd do without him." Thanks," I said, slowly backing away towards the safety of the living room. Just as I was stepping out of the room, I heard her say, "Alex is a 6th grader at Kennedy Middle School." I flinched. So much for remaining anonymous. Do you know what anonymous means? We've heard that a couple times now. Anonymous means that you're unknown. Nobody knows who you are. I hurried away before I could be further humiliated. 10 minutes later, Mom came into the living room, holding Dylan's hand, a huge grin on her face. "Well, that went much better this time," she said proudly. "That's good, Mom," I replied. "But can you maybe lay off with some of the personal information?" I asked. "I mean, I'm glad it went well, but maybe next time you can just keep me out of it." Mom's grin melted away. "Oh," she said softly. She paused for a moment. "Sorry, Alex. You're right. I guess I forgot that you're in middle school and I need to respect your privacy." I shrugged. "It's okay, Mom. Besides, you have your assistant here to help out," I said, patting Dylan on the shoulder. Mom smiled. "Thank you both for helping me. I really do appreciate it." She pulled us both in for a hug. "Now, who wants to get pizza before we leave for the baseball game tonight?" she asked. I do, shouted Dylan, jumping up and down. I nodded. Me too. I had almost forgotten that the baseball game was that night. Mom asked, "Do you think that TJ or Simon would like to come with us?" I shook my head. "Simon has a violin lesson today. He said he'd meet us at the game. And TJ wasn't in school today." I bit my lip. "But I'll call him to see if he wants to come." I tried calling TJ's house 3 times, but it just kept going into his answering machine. I heard his voice on the recording. "Yo, it's the Hinklemans. Leave a message," or whatever. I waited for the beep. "Hey, TJ, it's Alex. I was wondering if you're going to the baseball game tonight. We could pick you up if you need a ride. Call me back and let me know." We waited for a half hour before leaving, but we never heard back from him, and I had a feeling that something was wrong. We were piling into the minivan when Dad came out the door with Copper tugging on his leash. "Guess who's joining us at the ballpark tonight?" he asked as he opened the back hatch, and Copper jumped in. "Oh boy," I said as Copper leaned his head over the back seat, smiling his big dog smile, his tongue hanging out. "Are you sure that this is a good idea?" "Yes. Tonight's game is called Bark in the Park, and everyone is welcome to bring their dogs," Dad said. I shook my head and sighed, remembering how Copper had run away when I tried to take him to the dog park earlier this year. I really didn't think that bringing him with us was a smart idea, but everyone else was so excited that they didn't listen to me. "Yay! Copper is coming with us," Dylan shouted, squirming in his seat as Copper stuck his snout through the headrest and barked. "Relax, Alex. It will be fine." Mom smiled at Copper. "Look at that puppy face," she cooed. "How much trouble can he cause?" I had a feeling that we were about to find out. Okay, I'm going to stop there today. I only read 1 chapter today because it was a little bit on the longer side. Hope you're still enjoying the story. Hope you're following along with the characters. And if you have any questions about what I'm reading, please just post it on my Google Classroom, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can, or I will get back to you as soon as I can. Don't forget to answer the comprehension questions for Chapter 6 after you finish watching this YouTube video. Hope you have a nice day, and I will be back tomorrow. Bye.